How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Foggins, Media Corner, back again with a brand new video for today, and welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. This time it's going to be on The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Now, this is a 2024 anime fantasy film, and this is set 200 years before the events of the Peter Jackson trilogies of the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies. In this film, a sudden attack by a wolf, who is a clever and treacherous Lord of Rohan, is seeking vengeance for the death of his father, which forces Helm Hammerhand, the king of Rohan, and his people to make a daring last stand in the ancient stronghold of the Hornburg. So that's pretty much the story of The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Now, when it comes to the Peter Jackson trilogies of the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies, of course, when it comes to the Lord of the Rings movies themselves, they are certainly one of my all-time favorite trilogies ever, and they are certainly one of my all-time favorite movies. But when it comes to the Hobbit trilogy, I do think it's a solid trilogy, although nowhere near on the same level as the Lord of the Rings movies, but I still enjoy pretty much every single one of those movies. So when I heard there was going to be another Lord of the Rings movie, but it was going to be in anime form, I got really excited for that, since I am a fan of anime, and I do love the Lord of the Rings movies. Although I may have got me hoped just a bit too high for this film, because after I did see this movie, unfortunately, I wouldn't say this film was as epic as I was hoping for. But I wouldn't necessarily say that I had a bad time watching this film, because I overall had a decent enough time with Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. The animation in this movie, I would say, is actually quite unique, where it does tend to have a few mixture of animation styles, where there are times where it's like 3D animation and 2D animation, while it tends to be an anime form. And there are some like gorgeous scenery in the film, which I thought was really beautiful. Like, we get to see some snow pieces, and we even get to see some darker moments within the movie, which I did like. And even the action sequences here in this movie, I thought were really great. And yet there are times where it gets pretty brutal when we see some bloody action sequences that goes on within the movie. And even the sound effects when it came to those moments, I thought were pretty cool. And the music in the film, like the themes that the film has here, I thought was really good, where it tends to have some vibes to the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, while it tends to have its own themes here and there within the movie score. But the story for the film, I just felt was just surface level and yet lackluster alongside the characters, in which the characters just felt one-dimensional. Even though I do like the voice actors who voice these characters in the film, which you've got some recognizable names here and there within the film, such as Miranda, Otto, and Brian Cox, which I thought everyone did a solid job for their voice work within this movie here. But again, the characters just felt one-dimensional, where it doesn't really explore much about the overall context or relationships within the film, which barely got me enough to basically catch every single piece that was going on within the film that I tried to put together while I was watching this thing. And there are times the pacing does tend to feel effective and all that, due to some certain like story portions that goes on within the film that I felt were a bit rushed when it came to some of that within the film. But in the end, guys, The Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim, well, it tends to be like a technical, gorgeous marvel here, but unfortunately I didn't find myself really hooked on throughout the entirety of this film here. But if you're a fan of anime or Lord of the Rings, chances are you might enjoy this one here, and I would say this is probably just a one-time watch for myself here. I'm going to give The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim 3 out of 5. Certainly not a bad watch for myself, even though it's just a one-time watch for myself, yeah. And I wish this film could have justified me just a little bit more here, and I kind of wish the director could have done that for me as well, with handling this whole thing here. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my AK After I Saw review on The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. And I'd like to know what you guys think of this movie, if you've already seen this movie, or if you just recently checked this one out. And as always, this has been Falcon's Media Corner signing off.